Hello, my lovely friends. How are you doing today? My name is Rue. How do you do? Today, we're doing another autism chit chat video. And today, I wanted to talk about the perks of like professional diagnosis. I don't know why I did that, but professional diagnosis. And if you're new to my channel, I am a late diagnosed autistic adult. I am 30 years old. I was diagnosed officially last October of 2021. And it is currently July of 2022. So just to give you an idea. And I'm just gonna tap on my phone today because that's simple and easy. I did look at this fine specimen here. I like to change my background a lot to just like pictures on the internet that are funny to me. And I really like possums, or opossums. That's what you're supposed to call them. Anyways, today, we're gonna talk about perks of official diagnosis, and why I wanted to pursue that for myself, and why you may not be able to pursue that. So, unfortunately, it's quite difficult to get a diagnosis as an adult, if you were like missed in childhood. There's a few reasons for that. First of all, financial. It's very expensive, and not all insurance covers it. I live in the United States, so just to give you an idea. So, if you don't have insurance that covers it, it can be like $800 plus, depending on who does your diagnosis or your assessment. So, that's obviously not accessible to everyone. The other thing is there's a lot of like biases, outdated information, and it can be really, really difficult for people who perhaps don't follow these like certain stereotypes, especially if you were like if you're like an AFAB person, like it can be quite difficult because there's like some gender differences and things which I think, are still being like studied and stuff, but anyways, it can be quite difficult to find someone who is aware of that. So like, and I just want to be clear that an autism assessment is not like an easy thing to do either. Like it's or at least for me, it was not easy for me. It was very I don't want to say dramatic, but like it felt that way to me because essentially you're like basically having to dump all of this stuff that you've pushed down and like never told anyone because society told you it was wrong or shameful or whatever, and so you're like having to present all of this to someone you've never met before, and I find talking to people difficult anyways, and so having to tell this person all of my like deepest, darkest secrets and like basically, it felt like I had to prove how dysfunctional I am as a person, and that doesn't feel good. Like I understand why I had to do that, but it doesn't feel good. It's not a fun time. So like it's difficult. The actual like logistics of getting an assessment are difficult, and the assessment itself is very hard. I don't know how else to put it. And it's also just difficult to find someone to assess you because not a lot of people assess adults. And if you're anything like me, I find like scheduling appointments and making phone calls and stuff to be quite difficult and taxing, and so the process to actually figure out how to get assessed and make appointments and stuff is very difficult. So I just wanted to cover that first, because I don't want anyone to feel bad because they haven't been diagnosed, because it's very difficult. I just want to be clear. But I wanted to talk about how I benefited from my diagnosis. And the first, main, most important benefit to me is that I was able to find more self-acceptance for myself and self-love, because I felt like I finally had this validation that all of these things about you are not wrong. You're not making it up, and it just sort of validated all my experiences so that I could stop obsessing over it and sort of let go of that imposter syndrome, which stupidly I still feel often. I think just because of how society is and all this internalized ableism or whatever. So it's still something that I deal with, but having that professional sort of say yes, all of these things are real, and it just made me feel better about it, and feel like I could be more open about it, because society isn't exactly very accepting of self-diagnosis. So I felt like I could not be open about it, and I had to continue to pretend to be someone I was not, until I got this diagnosis, because I could be see, I have this paper, it says it is correct, so be quiet. So getting the diagnosis helped me sort of move on and sort of process this information and be okay, this is real, what can I do with this information, and that kind of thing. So the first thing is self-acceptance, self-love. It helped me a lot. And then the other thing that's extremely important is that I now that I have a name for what is going on in my brain, I can research it, and I can figure out what are the best ways for me to accommodate for that, and I can talk to other people who are also autistic and get their experiences and perhaps apply that to my own life, and that sort of thing. So basically knowledge is power. Being able to understand how your brain works and stuff, and why you do stuff a certain way is extremely powerful. I think in the same way that getting a diagnosis for something physical would help you go about your life in a better way, because you're aware that you have this problem, and you can better accommodate for it. So mine is just in my brain, and yeah. But I've learned so much about myself in these past few years, that before I just thought I'm just not trying hard enough, I'm lazy, I'm not good enough, I'm an alien or whatever. But now I have a name for it, and I can understand that and be more kind to myself. So that's very important to me. I've been able to sort of figure out who I am, and embrace all these good parts of myself, and have a better understanding of the things I might need more help with or whatever, And one of the reasons I wanted to get diagnosed is because if I ever, I had to quit my job, but if I ever had to go back to a traditional job, I could seek accommodations, because I don't feel like you can really get those accommodations without a diagnosis, which is a whole other topic that I could blab on about that I don't think is really right. But I don't feel like those accommodations were accessible without a diagnosis, and so that was why I felt it was so necessary, because I really was struggling at my last job. So accommodations was something that was really important to me to have for future use if needed. Another perk, perhaps not of like official diagnosis, but like just of knowing I'm autistic, is finding people online who are autistic and I can relate to, which is really powerful when you've never really met someone who can relate to these experiences. So if you're exploring like if you think you're autistic, I would encourage you to find groups of autistic people, because like the first times that I sort of read other people's experiences that resonated with me, that were like the same, I was like blown away, like literally crying, because I was like, I'm not alone. So that's good. That's really important, I think. Something else that I didn't expect is that, so autistic people tend to have a lot of like comorbidities that, so like sort of like other things that come with autism, and some of those are physical, like in our bodies. For some reason we tend to have similar problems, and so things like gut problems, which is something I've had my whole life. So that makes a lot more sense. And then there's also some other like physical things that are common, like hypermobile joints, which I haven't like gotten a diagnosis for, and I probably won't. But it makes a lot of sense for me because I have dealt with injuries like my entire life, and I'm like super like, I do all the right things. I've researched how to like not be injury prone or whatever. I do all the exercises and all these things, and I'm like, I still get injured, whereas like other people do all these like crazy things. They're not strength training, blah blah blah, and like, they're never getting injured and stuff. And so I was like, why is this so difficult for me? Like, why can I do all the right things and still I get injured? And so learning about these things, even though I might never like seek a diagnosis for it, has made me realize that like it's not me, it's not because I'm not doing enough, it's just that my body might have some stuff going on that makes it more difficult for me. And so learning about that was really powerful for me. So another perk is that if you know you're autistic, you can also look into these comorbid conditions that you might be experiencing, which is extremely helpful. And it can also explain like your history of like mental illness and that sort of thing. So that's really helpful. Knowing you're autistic can lead you to discover other comorbid conditions that you can better treat if you know they exist. So, knowledge is power, basically. That's what I'm saying. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, which was unexpected, but related. So, obviously, I watch a lot of creators online who are autistic, and so I guess YouTube's algorithm, they're like, oh, you like disabled content creators? Here's some more. So I began being suggested other disabled content creators. So people with mobility issues, deaf creators, blind creators, all of these like different disabled groups. I began watching their videos and learning more about maybe some of their struggles, and learning about more of the disabled community helps me be a better person, helps me understand how we can be more accommodating to more people, and I think it makes me a more understanding and empathetic person. And so I think, and so like before my autism diagnosis, I never really looked into any of this before, just because it's not anything I'd ever thought of. And so this autism diagnosis basically opened me up to a whole new world of people, and like a better understanding of the work we need to do as a community to support different types of people. So I think that was just a really good, just random, unexpected side effect of finding out I'm autistic, because it made me understand how society needs to better accommodate for my needs, because it just isn't at the moment. But it also led me to other types of disabled people who also are not accommodated for, and honestly, like, our society just doesn't care about disabled people that much, to be honest. And so we have a long ways to go in that manner. But I am glad, because I was made aware of all these really cool people, and I love following them on social media and seeing what they're doing. And I love hearing their perspective and learning about perhaps like how we can make the world better for more people. So that's a really good like side effect of my autism diagnosis that I really like. And I had like never considered myself disabled up until recently, when I was like reading the definition of disability. And it does fit me. And so I should do like a whole other video on disability, but anyways, it's good to sort of like get to know the disability community more. I think that's really cool, because there's a lot of really cool people out there who I wouldn't have been aware of otherwise. Anyways, I didn't like script this video or anything, so I don't know if I covered what I wanted to cover, but that's kind of the perks of autism diagnosis, or late discovery, or whatever. Because I think some people are like, well, you made it this far in life, like, what do you need an autism diagnosis? Like, first of all, I didn't do very well up until now, so. And second of all, knowledge is power. It's good for people to know what's going on in their body and their brains, like, and we should. So that's why it's important to me. Anyways, it's getting loud outside, so I'm gonna end the video here. Let me know if you agree with what I said, if you have anything to add, whatever. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you. You're doing amazing. Keep being wonderful people.